informal, so don't feel like you're obligated to answer or respond or ask questions, but you're here to get information. So we have our panelists today. We do have the microphone at this point. If everybody can hear each other, we don't necessarily have to use it, but if people can't hear, then you're welcome. It is there. We will open up with each one of the candidates just talking for 3 to 5 minutes, saying a little brief about why they're interested in running for candidate for the elections. And we will start with the mayor positions. I will open it up to Mr. Bill Hill first.
Oh, thank you. I did have to write it down, but I want to thank you guys for showing up, because I only figured 5 or 6 people were going to show up. This is great. And when we get done here, roll on into the next room. We could use you at our city council meeting too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've only got like 5 points. I'm trying to hold it under 3 minutes if possible, but myself and Josh know how to talk. So, as those who have attended the council meetings know, that I had other plans for the next 4 years. This was not it. Okay? Just to let you know, I had other areas. I had other plans for the next 4 years, which included geared more towards disaster relief and preparedness, such as from food to radio communications, which I'm still doing. It's just being slowed down. When I noticed there was only one person running for mayor, and no offense by the way, it kind of took me by surprise. And I felt like one of the things as I've been getting involved with politics is it bothers me when there's nobody running. I don't, even like Josh has no one contending him, and I wish somebody was out there doing it, because I've spent time, when I've talked to most of you, Troy and Pam know, I've been bird dogging them. Please get involved, and try to get involved at local politics, because at national and state level, I feel like I don't have a voice. Even though we elect these people, I feel like at the city level, we actually have a voice. And so I saw Ryan, the only one running, I go, no, that's it. Got to give the people a choice. Even if he's the right choice, they get a choice. And so I'm glad to see you guys come out tonight. Encourage those people that live around you to please vote. It's important. We don't have to, we had a big election last time when it was around something more nasty. Right now it's not around anything nasty. So, you know, trying to get more and more people to come out, I would encourage. Which brings me to my next point. Over the next 4 years, I would like to spend time getting to know more of our own citizens and to encourage them to come to at least one city council meeting per year, and to see how decisions are made. And what else do I get to jump my line? And to prove to the people, as a council and mayor, that's one thing I will say, since I've been on for 4 years nearly now, as a council and mayor, whether it been with Bob or with Mary, we have been very unified at trying to do what's in the best interest of the city. Not a one of us had anything personal or no personal reason to be here outside of to serve our community. And that's one thing that we would like to do, is to continue and maintain that, not for our own interest, but for the interest of the city. Because there's some people I know in Northern Meadows that feel like we've shafted them over this water system. But once I calmed them down and showed them what the process was, why we're doing what we're doing, which you could have known had you been attending a few meetings throughout the year. This is not a bomb that we just threw on everybody. So when we make decisions, they are truly in the best interest of the city of Athol. And not sure if many of you are aware that the decisions that are made in this council chamber also impact a larger area. When I hear people say, I'm from Athol now, I always want to say, you mean Silver Meadows, Howard Road? You don't really mean Athol. I can tell by what you drive. I'm just saying, but it's true. These people are very grateful for the decisions we've made. When the crossings went in over there, that's one thing they have been thankful for, is they realize we make decisions that impact them just as well as they do us. They don't get to vote, but they are interested in our vote as to what decisions we make. And that's one of the things we hope to continue to do, is provide more goods and services to our surrounding community. It's not just about us. And then I would also like to take time, it sounds weird, but my disaster preparedness, to spend time reviewing our disaster preparedness plan, including those in the surrounding communities. Remember, and I was thinking of the Cape Horn fire. Now the Cape Horn fire kind of opened us up too a little bit here, as to this was the big facility to come to be able to act as a headquarters. Just like that same fire created havoc for the Carywood area. They now have, for the last 4 years, a very tight-knit group of disaster preparedness type people, and now they all have their own emergency plans for if fire does break out, or anything else as far as animal rescue, getting people out. That's something we need to look at. We don't have to wait till there is a disaster that hits us to begin looking at those things. It's also my intention to preserve and maintain the reasons people desire to move to Athol. Now, I don't know if you ever thought about that. Each one of us are here for different reasons, but there's a reason people move here and not Rathdrum, Hayden Lake, Spirit Lake, but here. And I want to preserve that. And part of that there, I believe, is affordable housing. We have, I always said, if you can't live in Athol, you're probably going to be living on the streets. It's sad, but it's really true. We still have a community where people with little income can come to live. And I'd like to see us maintain that. The only thing I'm asking, I'll close and leave it on that. I don't mean to get on a tangent, but the only thing I'm asking, it's okay to be poor. My parents were poor. We lived here since '63, but it's not okay to be a pig. And I would like to see us start to clean up our town. And I think that's very important. So, turn it over to Ryan.
You know, a couple of years ago, we had the community review. It's been 2 years, right? Has it been 2 years? 16 months?
Yeah.
2016.
So it's been a couple of years, and I got involved with the community review. And some of the comments I made during the community review, I think it perked the former Mayor Walker's ears a little bit. And he approached me, he said, "You should run for mayor." He said, with some of the things you said and some of the things I heard, you would make a good mayor. And I thought about that the last 2 years, and I thought, maybe I will run for mayor. And that seemed like the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, that's that far away. I don't know how many of you have ever done the Hiawatha Trail and rode through that tunnel, but about halfway through you can see that light at the end of the tunnel. But the more you pedal, it seems like the further away it gets, until it's boom, right there. You're right there at the end of the tunnel. And that's the way this election's gone. I thought, even though I put my name on the ballot, it's still that light at the end of the tunnel. And then all of a sudden everybody's signs started popping up. Well, it's getting real. That light at the end of the tunnel is here. But some of the things that I would like to see here in Athol is I would like to look to the future a little bit so that we don't have these problems with the water. Former administrations wanted to keep the status quo, but that hasn't helped us any. Now we're in this big bind to try to come up with $15 million to try to fix all our water problems and our sewer problems. We don't have it. And it's because they didn't look ahead to the future and saying, if this breaks or if this goes out, where are we gonna fall on? And I would like to be part of that solution. So in the next 20 years that we don't have to have those things. Another thing is I would like to see Athol grow a little bit. And I'm not saying that we have to have a bunch of post-established tract houses put in here like Post Falls or Coeur d'Alene, but maybe we could adopt a rule kind of like Dalton Gardens where it's an acre that they gotta buy so that we're not bumping elbows together. I would like to see an Instacare over there at the crossings so that we're not always driving into Coeur d'Alene or anything. And for those of us that still have kids, or maybe you remember when you had kids, kids don't get sick Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. It always seems like it's after school or in the middle of the night. And it would be nice to have something like that here that we don't have to run to town for all the time. But I would like to also put in some sidewalks. A young man 2 months ago got clipped over here on the bike path by a car. We think it's safe. Maybe you guys seem a little bit older and you don't have kids anymore. I still have kids. My kids are kids, but I'm gonna have grandkids. I plan on being in my house a long time. And I would like to be able to give my grandkids, it would probably then it'll be $5 to buy a candy bar and go to Little Town Market to buy a candy bar. But I'd like to see a sidewalk or a path from Northern Meadows all the way to Super One, where they could either stop at Little Town Market and get it or walk to Super One and get it. I'd like to see a sidewalk in on Davis Lane. When school's out and school's in session, the kids don't move and it's hard to drive through there. And they don't know it any better because that's all they've known all their life. I would like to see this town a little bit safer. I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see a few more businesses come to town. And because of the status quo, we haven't grown, we haven't done these things. This is the problem we're at and the choices that Bill had talked about with the water. My water bill is about tripled in the last couple of years and I don't really like that much, but it's the solution to the problem. But I'd like to be the solution to the problem so we don't have to do that again. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do we want to break and ask, since those two are the candidates for mayor, have anybody open it up for questions? questions before we get into council, or do you wanna go straight into council? Question?
I question, not Ryan so much as put your numbers as far as taking care of the water system. Those numbers have already been established on what it's gonna take to fix our water system, and it's already in the process. And they'll be working on as far as getting, bids and stuff coming this spring, and the number is not over $4 million.
Well,
Not anywhere near 15 million.
well, if we were to get a sewer system and things like that, I was
You
looking.
didn't include sewer, you just said water.
I understand that, but I, with the problem we're facing to grow and the things that we need, I was including the sewer system, and I failed to put that in my speech, so. But the water is an issue, and again, it's not because of necessarily your administration, but former administrations wanted to keep the status quo. We didn't grow, we didn't find a way to find more revenue to look ahead into the future. I would like to be part of that solution, so that it doesn't happen again.
That solution is already in the process though, for the water system.
But what if it happens again? Are we gonna have to triple our water rates again? How long have the water tanks been up there?
Those are in the process of being either repaired or replaced.
I understand that, but it's gonna have to be done again. Maybe not in my lifetime, but it's gonna have to be done again. And so we need to look ahead for that, so that we're prepared to do
I
it.
just question, how do you plan on looking ahead? Where would the funding come from, or?
That's what I wanna look at. That's part of the reason why I want to figure out the solution. If it's maybe raising the dollar rates $1 a year instead of 3 times tripling my rate in 2 years.
I agree that if we've been all impacted by the new water rates, and it's because of previous, but it's not because of the previous 4 years, people.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying from years before. I'm saying previous administrations, not under the last several years. But
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, is nobody looked ahead to say, well, what if we had to replace this? What if we had to do this? What if we have to do that? And because they didn't do that, they just left everything, and now we, as a community, are left holding the bag, and I don't want that to happen again.
We are similar to most other communities though, as far as our water rates are right now, as far as your water rates and usage. It's almost the same statewide. So we were behind the ball for many years, I agree. But the council has taken that in their arms and taken care of it. And I agree, it hurts, my water bill is.
I understand, I'm not blaming what has happened now. I'm just saying, let's look ahead into the future so it doesn't happen again. So that we're not stuck like this. Because if it was my understanding, because we weren't getting any revenue, we couldn't get a bond. Well, we can't get a bond because we can't pay it back. So then we gotta raise the rates, and we're still not enough. We're still not there. So, again, we're just kinda stuck, and we're kinda stuck because we haven't grown either. The city hasn't grown at all. You know, there hasn't been a lot of new housing. My housing area over in Northern Meadows was the last one done in, what, 20 years? And here it stood, 20 years, and we haven't had any new housing come in. And why? Because we don't have a sewer system. No, we don't have other things to grow. But if I could find a way to find the money for a sewer system and work together as a community to get that, then we could grow a little bit and find ways find solutions so that we don't have to have the water jacked up as much as it's been. I mean, I agree that we wanna stay small, but again, we gotta change people. If we didn't agree with change, we'd all be driving Model T cars still. I don't know, I kinda like my car now. You know, there's something to be said about classic cars, but they made them cars so much more efficient than they used to be. And they can go so much faster and so much farther. I've seen the speed limit in my lifetime raised from 55 to now 70, 80 miles an hour. Why? Because the cars can do that now. They couldn't do that before.
It was 70 before it was 55.
Yeah, let's say 70 miles right.
Well, I grew up down in Utah, and the speed limit was 55. And then it went, everybody praised the Lord when it was 65. And now it's 80.
I have a question for you.
Okay?
You talk about a sewer system, and we've looked at it in the past. I was on a committee back when they did. unless we get 2,500 people, we can't afford a sewer system. And as far as the well goes, like Bob says, all that's gonna be working on next year, it's all upgrade. It's not that we haven't done it, what we have done is got bonds, we've gone ahead and got grants, and we're taking care of that.
I understand that, but what about in the future? What happens if the.
Well, if we have a new system in, it'll be a while before it ever happens, and it can be planned in any time that the council wants to add more money in there.
Well, what if all of a sudden the state says we need 8-inch pipes instead of 6-inch pipes?
They've already set the width of their pipes and everything.
I understand that, but everything is gonna change. Everything is set to change. Things are gonna change. And that's the problem is now, is that we've got 4-inch pipes that need to go to 6-inch, correct? Well, what if the state mandates that everybody's gotta have 8-inch pipes in case there's a fire?
So then we increase our water rates, so we can go back and repair them?
So
I mean, what's your alternative to?
that's what I'm saying is that I wanna find a solution to that. So if it happens again, that we're ready for it and we don't have to that we don't have to jack the rates up so high because we've looked ahead and prepared for it.
There has been a number of things that the council has been working towards when they're budgeting to do that, as well as, potentially once the new infrastructure is in, we can do a new analysis to see the value of the structure, and we can actually put in, not just an installation fee, but also what's it called, capital fee? I don't know. Their impact fees, so that new development would start to pay their share, so the burden doesn't
Right.
always fall on.
Right, that's what I mean, I wanna be part of the solution, instead of always putting it back on here, and again, it's because they didn't want it to change.
Sure.
And eventually, we're all gonna have to change. Go ahead.
I'm all for having sidewalks and making the city much more beautiful. One of the problems I would like to know is where you wanna get the money from, and if it's from the feds and stuff, there's an awful lot of strings that are attached. And I don't know if wanna accept some of the rules and regulations from the federal government, what they tell our city to do and stuff. I'm just wondering your thought about that. My second question is about cleaning up the city, I like that too, so those two questions.
What would you do?
Yeah, what would you guys do to encourage clean up the city more?
That's an interesting question. And back to what Ryan's doing and tying it all together, be honest with you, Ryan would even be more educated if you had to come to at least 3 to 4 council meetings this year. You would already see what's in process, how our hands are tied, and you always have to come back and ask yourself this one question. How much more am I willing to pay? How much more am I willing my friends and neighbors in this city to have to pay? What was the number of people that we had here that was considered low income so we could have this grant? Wasn't that 70%?
I think you had to be over 50.
Was it over 50?
%.
That's
And
a
then
lot.
And then we came back.
When
up
you
to
when you take 50% of your city and say that it really falls in the poor scale, how much more can we keep sticking to them? You know, so I'm just saying, and I understand, growth is inevitable. It's not about not having growth. You can define your growth as an inevitable. It's how we control it, what caliber of growth that comes in. I wish you could attend city meetings, because I don't want to bring up people personally, because there are people that feel they're singled out. But we have a number of people in this town that are not compliant with their junkyards, okay? Call it what it is, they're junkyards. We found out how our hands are tied through legal services that said that, yeah, you can sue them, you can go after them, but you're probably going to lose. Federal government is, and I hate telling people, it's like telling a criminal how to do a crime. But the federal government has already said they're on their side versus our side. They will do everything in their power to, even if those people aren't in compliance, the only thing that we're capable of doing is putting a lien on their property. So that the day they go to refinance or to sell the place, then they have to bring everything into compliance so they can remove that lien. And that's really where our limitation is, because the rest of the time, it's like throwing out idle threats to your kids and never following up on it. That's all we can do, send out letters. We really can't do anything until it's in the right of way. Yeah, there's a few places I wish had 10-foot wooden fences with no cracks through it, and I don't have to look in there, but unfortunately, we can't do that to them. So yeah, our hands are tied.
What about when they're out in the right of way?
What's that? But that's the things we are going to attack, have been attacking, but it's funny how that
Well,
works.
nothing's being done about it.
Well, it's called the words we're now hearing It's a work in process. They do it for like a week or two, and then go back and do it again. That's the hard part, is when you've got somebody that's out there going, okay, I'll play the game, let's see who can do this. I'm not gonna, so I'll pull all my cars, I know who you're talking about. Pull my cars off the street for about 2 weeks, then all of a sudden, here they come back again.
But
We
they're
send
there
out
all the
another one.
time. They never pull them off.
Off city right away, yeah,
And you
I've
see
been
the
driven by,
school
and I have
children-
seen them, I've seen them pull
School
them off.
children are walking down, they have to walk in the middle of the
I
road
agree,
because it's on both sides.
I agree, and like I
And
said,
it's not safe.
It's
But
a
if they
lot
don't
of
sit there long enough,
property
we can't
rights
have them sold off.
oversees cities' rights.
Hmm?
When you go to court, is property rights oversee city rights. So it's hard to get things going in the courts.
Well,
That's
and
where we started with having a planner to try to make it a more formalized thing, so that if we do ever go into court, we have our ducks in a row a little bit more, but the council has to judge how much money should they throw at fighting a particular battle or one, versus just hoping that your neighbors and everybody follows the same laws and everybody
Why
does the
have
same
all
things.
these
but be
That's what they need
ordinances
to know
and
from you,
codes,
yeah.
they're just
Be
always a
patient,
waste?
because we now have in our budget a legal fee. In other words, I hate to say that, it's like in the grocery store business, they have a theft fee. There's a certain percentage they have to give way to theft. We have to give now a percentage to be able to pursue people legally. As you well know, a few years back, we were lost $400 and some thousand. The city does not have a strong fund of money to legally pursue people. For us to legally pursue it, what we pay for an attorney in the business meetings is about $100 an hour less than what we would have to do for prosecution fees. So we just don't have that kind of money. So now what we're doing is saying, this person's been doing this for 20 years, correct? Be patient a few more years, let us get that fund up so that we can begin to pursue the high priorities.
I'm just
Do
concerned.
you usually
I
citizens
see
care how much the
children
city ends up
walking-
spending just to get that one property cleaned up, even if it's, hundreds of, when you get in, cause there's no guarantee the city wins it.
I'm thinking of the safety of the
I
children.
understand
Even
that.
the school bus has to stop.
But
They
how
can't
far are
get
you
through
as
at
citizens
times.
willing to let us spend suing one person
I don't know.
and still losing?
You
This is
put
definitely
got a
reason
question.
the lines on the road
Part
for the
of that
children to
is-
cross, but it's
Wasn't it-
not safe for the children.
a code written about parking in the right of way, so can't you try to enforce that?
It's a difficult one because we do have a few people around town that have no driveway to park in, but we still have to move them for snow removal. Yes, we are, it's how do you pick and choose your battles? Because it begins to look like because the first thing that they will say was, what about so-and-so over on the road? That's a tough one.
But can't
But when
you-
you're running a business that's landing on city streets, that's different.
Can the city can already write a note stating, hey, you're in violation?
Sure, and that's, we call it a friendly reminder, we do that first, but there's certain people, like Mrs. Rice is saying,
Right,
there's
I
certain
know,
people,
yeah.
there would have been 1,000 of those letters by now.
Well, but then can't you, you check with the local law enforcement on citation?
They can only do in the winter time according to our codes if they're in the way of the snow plow. So the codes need to change, and I'm not sure where, because you have some right of ways that people, because the way it was managed years ago, they have no place to park other than in the partway in the right of way.
If you're
That-
blocking a stop sign or in front of a stop sign?
They can do that there, but there are others, there's places that really do not have enough right of way, enough property between the right of way and the road to park. And that's one of the main issues we have on that.
Somehow city business is like a war, we can only take one battle at a time, we can't take them all on,
Alright, any final questions for Mayor?
You finish up on it with the,
There's,
going with the money.
there's all sorts of grants I can look at. Avista puts out grants, KEC puts out grants for certain things. I can look into those. I haven't yet, but if I'm elected, I will. I will do my best to find those. And like you said, politics are politics. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. That's how it goes. And when you accept funds from anyone, whether it's the Department of Water or anybody else that gives us a grant to help with our water system or a sewer system if we ever get one, one of the things I learned in the community review that I was involved in, the goose that has a golden egg is the one that sets the rules. And because we don't have a golden egg, then if it comes, I will look after your best interest, that we don't have to do this or that with the feds and accept their cookie to get the money that would suit our best interest. But there's all sorts of people that we can get grants from that wouldn't affect us as taxpayers. And I do know for a fact that, you know, some of us would like a bank. That was in an article several years ago. As I was talking with Mayor Walker, that there was an article in the press, and they were interviewing Lanny, Mayor Spurlock, and they were talking with the city clerk. They were kind of doing it like a mob boss type of thing, where they had the mob boss here and the underling here, but boss, we need a bank. No, we don't need that. But there was gonna be a bank in Super One, but they backed out because we don't have a police department. We don't have our own police.
That is not true.
That's what I was told.
That's a fallacy. We can have a bank without a police department.
We can have,
Yeah.
I guess the bank
Insurance that they wanna pay for, yeah.
so, but those are the things that have got to change if we wanna grow a little bit. And these impact fees that they're talking about has to come from people moving in.
So, that was a good answer. Would, you know, a lot of people believe that if you bring businesses in, you'll increase your tax base, and also with impact fees, they can help to achieve this type of thing. So I think a question for both of you would be, how could we encourage businesses here that don't need, you know, more than 5 acres to do their business? And then number two, you talked about people could be poor and not be pigs, and that's so true, you know. How do we encourage the community to take pride at what would you do to encourage the community to take pride in having a beautiful community, as opposed to, you know, what we have been seeing for so many years? So 2 questions. How do we encourage business, and how would we encourage people to?
That's their job. No.
That's kind of where we're stuck, is in my opinion, we have a hard time getting businesses to come in because we don't have the sewer system. And we're out of EQs or DEs. I thought they were called EQs.
We're out of them.
But for a layman's term, we're out of septic systems to give out.
Oh.
So it's hard to attract those types of businesses, and we can't get them here. Super One, the only reason why they're here is because they made their own. And so here we sit, and we're kind of stuck because the former administrations and the former citizens of Athol, they wanted to grow. They wanted, this is what we got, and this is how we're gonna keep it. However, the way I see Athol, we are the gateway to all things recreational. We've got Farragut down here, we've got a main road up to National Forest Service, we got snowmobiling in the winter, we got 4-wheeling in the summer. They're doing the bike path now. We're at the hub of all things recreational here. We can go east, west, north, or south. We've got highways running northeast, west, and south. And we are at the hub of that. We got Schweitzer up north, and they gotta go through Athol to get there. I would like to see a fountain out off the highway that says, welcome to Athol. Kind of like Sandpoint does. I love Sandpoint's new addition that they put in for the drive-through instead of driving through town. I would love to have something lighted up that says, welcome to Athol, and make it beautiful. And to find a grant to come up with that.
Well, you're talking about several thousand people. Here we got 600 people. So you gotta pay for all
I
this stuff.
understand that, but I'm just saying what I would like to see. I'm not saying
fine.
at this point that I have all the money in the world to make it happen. But she asked a question. I'm answering her question to make it more appealing for people to come here. And I think that is one way we could do that.
Two things. This really helps me confirm, I'm not interested in a sewage treatment plant. I'm not interested in these things that's gonna make us one day begin to look like Coeur d'Alene where I moved away from. I don't even like to drive in that city anymore. I'm sorry, I just don't. The congestion and the ugliness of the way people respond in there is terrible. I would like to see us be a greater, not just our city limits, not the growth here, it's the outer growth, the whole community. Athol means more than just our city limits. You know, and another thing too is beautification. Could you imagine if we had one day a year where the citizens cooperated together to help each other? Could you imagine if we had one day a year where we actually helped our neighbors and do things? We have this, it's called Athol beautification. Do you know how many citizens in Athol actually participate in this? Do you have the number, Lori?
For volunteers or?
For volunteers,
asking
to
for
volunteers to help each other on that one, if you can't do it one day, how will you ever do it the other 364? But one day a year, and do you know what the number is of how many citizens?
help? Extremely low, 5 to 10 somewhere.
Well, I only counted 2 last year.
Did you?
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
myself
they're
and one other
like
person that I
they're
read, and it was a youth through the real life that comes out. Most of our help in this city to help clean up comes from outside our community. Every time they tell us, we are so interested in the decisions you make and the things you do, you impact us. And this is their way of saying thank you to us. I only wish there was something we could do to say thank you back, but we really can't. If we don't help each other, who are we gonna help outside the limits? So, yeah, when I say, I don't wanna see us become Hayden Lake, Coeur d'Alene, or Raptor, I really don't. I want us to still be Athol, just clean it up. Don't be so embarrassed, and I will say this, until about 2 years ago, someone would say, where you live, Bill? Where are you living now? Out by Silverwood. Why would I say it like that? I was embarrassed of this name. The name Athol projects something that I would like to just see the status of our name means something more than what people think it means.
Okay, sorry. We're gonna
I know, we gotta keep moving.
move on to the others in light of the time. So we will go for Athol City Council seat number 1. We have Mary Zichko, our mayor, and Pam Baldwin. And so, Mary, would you like to go first, or Pam? Either one.
As most people here know, I was on the council 5 years, and I was appointed mayor when Bob felt ill and couldn't do it. And that was an appointment. And I'm looking at going back on the council because I was only second elected back on the council a year before I took over as mayor, and I think Bill will do a good job. I'd like to continue the projects we're doing. We are working on paths, bike paths, walking paths, which, Super One is, they have their sewer system, but it will go into a bigger sewer system, so it's not that there isn't a sewer system for the rest of it. I think you're a little behind times on what you're saying, because there's a lot of things we, as a council, have done, in the last 5 or 6 years. And, you know, Bob has worked really hard with Anthony on the water system, and we've got that taken care of pretty well. We have a transportation plan, we have already been approved,
Speak a little louder.
signed. Is it my son?
It is on this if you want to go back.
I just would like to stay on and see the things that we've done, continue. I like to, there is growth, but unless you have a sewer system, we can only do 5-acre parcels in annexation, but we really, as citizens, we can't afford it unless we get more business in town. And, I just like being on the council, I enjoy it. I'm really for the citizens and trying to do the best job I can. And being mayor right now, I can see what Bob went through, the hard position. And I have more voting power if I go back on the council, and I feel I can get more things done that we've started out. And I just would like to stay on.
I don't think I need one, let me know if I do. I'm used to having to speak.
So I'm Pam Baldwin. I am somewhat new to the community. I like Athol as the small town that it is. I really don't wanna see big, huge growth coming in and tons of homes moving in. If you want that, move to Hayden Coeur d'Alene. I would like to see the infrastructure supported by bringing in businesses. We have the Super One area at the crossings. To me, that is where we need to develop. That is the better tax structure that will support our infrastructure. Residential is a much smaller tax base for the city to come off of, so therefore you need to look at the commercial. With that continuous funding, we could look at doing the sidewalks and improving the streets. We could move into working with the community and trying to get the problem children taken care of. I hear you on that. It's a community policing, basically, is what it comes down to. It's encouraging your neighbor to take care of their home, making it beautiful, giving them the pride that they need. Some people don't look at their home as a castle, they look at it as their little junkyard and domain. It's understanding that and working with the community to change that mindset, that their property value goes up as the neighbors go up if you clean yours. So it's encouraging, working with that. I wanna hear the community, I wanna work with the community. As a community member, it's you that make the decisions, and we need to listen to you to take those into consideration when we're looking at planning in the future and the infrastructure decisions, how to best use your money to support you. So I wanna become a representative so I can be that voice. I wanna be open to you to be able to take your ideas and feed them back with the group, and then make a right decision that will benefit us all and the people coming after us. And I don't think it's off big subdivisions, and I don't think it's off of, annexing everybody in at the last minute, because that brings other issues as well, and more money that has to be spent by the city. So I'm just looking to make Athol the small town central gateway. To Ryan's point, we are that community hub. We have that ability to be a destination stop on the way to the final destination. So that's where I'm at.
You got a question?
Robin?
I heard you say that you're new to the area. How many of these city council meetings have you been to get an understanding of where they're coming from in the last, you've been here 2 years?
I've been here 2 years,
Okay.
and when I started attending, it's probably about a year and a half or so ago, and I think I probably missed 6 or 8. We try and attend both meetings every month.
So what do you want to see the goal for besides small growth and Super One, including the business over there? What do you think about the rest of the area of Athol for business?
There are opportunities within the city to have other businesses move in. There's empty lots, there's empty buildings that can be reinvigorated for new businesses to come in. We have an empty building that was the post office that could easily become something else, to the point that we have, limited ERs for residential. The business, the building that's already there already has a septic, so reuse it, repurpose it. And that will then in turn make the city proper, grow and flourish with businesses and destinations within the city.
Thank you.
By the way, Hughes is working on phase 2, which is not Super One, but it's the rest of the stores. And they're working on their sewer system. And the other thing is, ever since I've been on, I started beautification week, because back when I was first here, they had a program and people would be interested in it and work with it. We had maybe 5 or 10 at this last one that lived inside the city limits, but we had like over 100 people working, helping clean up the neighborhood. I think that's important. I also would like to say, I started up the senior program, a lunch program, and I've done public service meetings for people for Medicare, Medicaid, for first aid, several different things, and I'd like to continue those items and have more things open. I've worked up with one of our deputies, getting the park rules so that they can enforce stuff in the park. And I'd like to, I'm doing, the mayor's walk right now. It's 10,000 steps a day for 31 days to get $1,000. It's all over the state and I'm gonna have it used for the park because that's important. A lot of people go there and it draws people in their community. And we have looked into numerous grants and we have been working on them. I've been working on the railroad thing about the sound and everything. It costs money, engineering and stuff. Also, we're looking on the more transportation plan, you know, and Lori and I are going to Boise, the end of October to get more information. I just would like to express that.
I'm not running because things haven't been changing around here. It's been a slow process. I'm just running, the purpose of this whole meeting is to say why we're running. You know, I don't wanna get into all the details. I love where I live. I love the city of Athol. I'm not saying that people aren't working on trying to make it better. That's not my point. I think this administration as itself has done a fine job facing the challenges that have come from former administrations. I'm not blaming anyone or anything. I am trying to make where I live better and what I would like to see. And like I said, I don't want it to be another Post Falls or Coeur d'Alene either. I'm saying we can adapt rules that make our growth so that it's not like that. That when we do grow, and I agree with business, I agree with those things, but we're kind of stuck. We have to find the solutions for these problems before we can grow. And I appreciate I'm sure there's several of you, and I'm just using this as an example. I am not being derogatory in any way to anyone here, but there was a lot of opposition to Super One coming. But I bet that opposition has shot there at least once since it's been there. And appreciates it being there now.
I've ran into that opposition shopping there.
So I'm just saying that these things are why we're running. I'm not saying that these guys didn't do a good job, and if you ask me why I didn't attend the meetings, I felt recently, if I was gonna run for mayor, I didn't wanna come in with any biases against the city council. So I kinda abstained from coming to that, so that I wouldn't have a bad attitude with any of those if I got elected.
Hey, Ryan, where do you see the growth, adding in new homes, if it's acreage that's on 5 and 10 acres to the west, to the south, to the east?
If we could get a sources, I'm saying if, I can't say when.
But where does this empty acreage come from?
Well, that's where the annexation comes, and I'm not saying that we have to have postage stamps. I'm saying we could be like Dog Gardens where they're acre lots instead of 5 acre lots, so people still have their space.
But where do you get the acre lots from? Everything's bought up in parcels.
There are still some places that we can annex in. There's some space up at the top of the hill over here. They're on the north side that hasn't been developed yet. There are some places that we can annex in if we can support the growth.
So we have a problem right now with paying the water bill, which is, I kind of walked in on it. Do we have land? Do we have an area that can support a septic for the city of Athol? We own that land.
Not
Or is
yet, that's part of the problem.
But
But-
is there
but I
land
wanna find-
available for that?
That's part of the problem. The whole point of this is I wanna be part of the solution to the problem. And to find that you're talking about. But that takes money, and right now the city doesn't have it.
The council and the city staff has been looking into, there are grants out there, we would need to have another feasibility study done to see what are the components that are required for land and space and cost for that. That's what was done 30-something years ago. That's outdated now, but hopefully some technology has changed. Bob and I attended some meetings in the past years that shared some of those technology about the amount of land that's needed, and so, as staff, I would hope that we'll be allowed to apply for those grants, just like we did for the transportation plan, that paid for it completely, it didn't cost the citizens anything. Once you get that plan, at this point, it would at least arm the council, with what those figures are, how much it needs, and so then, as other people are interested in annexation, or as the council is trying to make those decisions, they have that data to inform them. How much land do they need? How much money do they need? We don't know right now, we're just speculating at what that looks like. And so, as staff, we're encouraging the city to look for, avenues to get the grant funding so that we can have those studies done, so that they have that information going forward to make those decisions and come back to the public, so.
How far now that we've raised our rent, our water bill, how long will it be before this starts taking place to improve our water system? Are we looking at a year? Are we looking at 5 years?
Where we're at with the, unless some of the council.
I think that's a question that should be asked in the city council meeting,
Yeah.
not at this meeting.
Okay.
But this would be a good chance to update people, because Ryan brought up something that most of you probably don't know, a place for people to move to. Shane McDaniel, who's one of our councilmen, is not here tonight, but he worked very diligently. I came on in 2016. He is just wrapping up what's called an SMA, a sewer management agreement with Panhandle Health, opening up 100 new ERs for the city of Athol. We had a lot of land here that people couldn't develop if they wanted to, because there wasn't enough of these ERs, today it's called dwelling equivalents. And now, like I said, if somebody wants to come here, they can build. We have that land, we have those ERs available to them if they want to come here. But I'm gonna ask you, logically speaking, let's say you move here from someplace south of Lewiston, and you come here with $500,000 for a home. Are you gonna put your home in the city limits of Athol, or are you gonna put your home out at Silver Meadows or out on Howard Road? Don't answer, I just say, where would you put your $500,000 home? So.
All right, in light of time, any other questions for Mary or Pam for the seat one position? Okay, we will go on with the last one for seat position number 3. Mr. Josh Spencer is not here. He didn't have anybody running against him. He is out of town, so we will start with Cindy Dennis. She is the incumbent currently in the position. I will make note too that this is a 2-year position, whereas the ladies here is a 4-year position and the mayor position is a 4-year. So once this 2 year is up, then the council position will go back to a 4-year. It just happened to be the way we filled the vacancy. So typically they're 4-year terms, but Cindy was appointed into that position, so she's finished out that term, and so that's why this one is a 2-year position. Correct.
I just want to encourage the citizens to speak up and tell us what they need, learn their wants.
You gotta be louder, man.
Louder than a microphone.
I just want to encourage the citizens to speak up, tell us what they want, because you are our voices. We can't do anything without you. It's your voices that help us to decide what needs to go on in the city. That's how Super One was brought in and annexed in, because of your voices. It was your opinions, and when they sent out the surveys to find out what you all wanted, that's how they came up with getting them annexed in. You have to open your mouths and tell the city, tell us what you guys want to see come in, and tell us how you feel, what your needs are. We don't know if you don't tell us. And as far as cleaning up, I'd love to see the city cleaned up. You know, if there's anything I can do out there to help somebody clean their property up, I don't mind helping out. You know, rather it be trailers, like if I have to have my husband move a trailer to wherever, a junkyard or whatever, we're willing to do it. I mean, people just need to help everybody needs to help each other clean up.
Yeah, but some of these people think what they have is a prize. It's worth a lot of money, they don't wanna get rid of it.
It's another man's treasure, right?
That's my husband, I kept telling him, nope, it's gotta go, it's gotta
One
go.
person's trash is their trash.
Yeah, person might not like what you have.
Right.
Where do you stop?
That's true.
Well, and that's why property rights are so important. Just because you don't like what I have on my property, I get to have things you don't like, which means you get to have things I don't like.
Correct.
And so that's why they err on the side of the property owner when we don't like things.
And that's why the state enforces property rights.
No one person is singled out, because I've had somebody come to me and say, well, so-and-so's not cleaning up. Well, we can't physically go make them clean their property up, and people need to understand that. I mean, yeah, they can put liens against their property, that's about as far as they can go right now. They are trying to build their funds so that they can, establish something so they can, if they have to file a lawsuit, but they also have to remember, that could be, runs in, not 20,000, not 30 or 40, it could, and then we could still end up losing, so, you as a citizen, how far do we go, and how much money do we spend of your money? Suing somebody, you have to think of it that way too.
I'd like to thank the young people for coming tonight. I think that's really amazing that you guys would come and listen to us talk. That's amazing. It was good for her.
All right, Mr. Dave, Mark?
I'm Mark Bean, I've lived here for quite a while. I'd like to see when the city makes big decisions, we got a newsletter and an email, website, that we could put out a survey and get everybody's opinion on what they want. And that really isn't being done.
We offer
Because the city,
anybody to.
just a minute, Mary, the city belongs to all the people, not just a few.
Right,
Right.
and you have a right to come to our meetings, I'd
Okay,
like to see more.
that's what's wrong. Everybody's always said, if you don't come to the meeting, well, the heck with you.
But
Well,
I had a comprehensive plan meeting, and who took? 2 people showed up to that comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I read it.
That was
I'm glad
it.
I didn't show up to it.
But you would have been surprised at all that, and they were asking our opinions on things. And it was quite interesting. 2 of us showed up to that.
Yeah, well, if you don't wanna go, you don't wanna go, but still, I got a copy of it and I read it.
And website is, you make a good point, the web is an avenue that a
Yeah,
lot
and we
of
could
people
put
use.
your water plan and everything on there so people can read it and understand what's going on.
Those are,
They are.
Those are
Are
already
they?
on
Where are they at?
I can show you where they're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just think we could put out a survey and you get the opinion of everybody. And just like sidewalks and everything is cool, but you take $5 for that and $10 for this and $50 for that, pretty soon, there's a lot of people that can't afford that in this town.
I'm looking for paid for growth. I'm not looking to put any more of the burdens. That's what I talked about in our community review with Mayor Walker. I said, what we need is paid for growth so that we're not burdening the citizens.
Yeah, but who's paying for it?
Again, it's coming from the paid for growth. I mean,
Yeah, but it's still,
if
the
things,
taxpayers, still, everything, nothing is free.
if things don't change, it's gonna die. The city will die if things don't change a little bit. Just, if you look at a house that somebody lives in and takes care of, and it becomes empty for 3 months, look at the difference, what happens if nobody's there to take care of it. If things don't grow and if things don't change, it's gonna die. If you don't feed and water your plants, it's gonna die. It's the same thing with the city. If you don't feed and water the city, it's gonna die.
Well, Athol's always been slowly growing. I lived here when we had dirt roads and there was only 180 people here.
But it's grown the same, hasn't it? Everybody talks about
slowly
keeping the same.
growing,
It's
but you
gotta
don't just
grow.
wanna
It's
pick-
gotta grow or it's gonna die. That's the
It
problem.
ain't gonna
It's
die.
smart
It is
growth.
growing.
Nothing's
It's
gonna
smart
die right
growth
now. Too many
done
people
with
come
the
here.
voice of the people.
That's what I said. I didn't say,
No,
I
I'm
didn't
just
say,
saying,
you
it's
can't
making
have the
sure it's
status
smart
quo.
growth.
But just like that, you're talking about that business, the old post office. Well, somebody owns that.
Yeah.
Well, they must want a heck of a lot of rent because nobody's really looked into it too much. See, everything's getting so high that you can't, normal people really can't do anything anymore. Just like the crossings, they're gonna put in I was reading an O'Reilly's. What's that gonna do to Victory Auto Parts? So there's give and take.
I don't know, Littletown's still doing pretty darn good.
Yeah, Littletown is, but you get O'Reilly's in here and stuff
Well,
like that.
I'm just saying the same thing, you know, Littletown has a very loyal group of supporters. In fact, my son lives in Liberty Lake. His neighbor owns it, he's doing very well. And they just gave the employees a raise. You don't do that unless you're making money, so I don't know how they're doing it, but somebody figured out how to make money. So I'm gonna assume Victory Auto is gonna continue to be.
Because
I hope so, but I'm just saying, you don't wanna put the businesses out of business that are already
Okay,
here.
another one, Spirit Lake, you got Old Town, Old West Hardware, I love it. What separates Dave from the ace that's over there? Knowledge. When you go to Old West Hardware, you're talking to somebody that's gonna help you with what you need. You go to Ace, you just get an employee.
Dave was given that company.
Was he given to him? He's done well.
My friend.
He's done well with it.
It's no different than when Walmart moved in, I lived in Sandpoint. And it's no different than when Walmart decided they were going into Ponderay. Downtown Sandpoint swore up and down it was going to fall down on its knees, curl up and go away.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It actually is flourishing more so now because it brought more employees in, the houses that were vacant downtown are now rented. You go downtown Sandpoint, yeah, the business dropped off a little bit when the bypass went in because people don't conveniently stop. But downtown Sandpoint's a safer place to shop now with the bypass, so more people come. It's become a destination.
Yeah, but
There's
you're
no
back to the
reason.
sewer system. If you don't got the ERs, how big a business can you have?
Well, we have Super One. It's pretty much
Yeah,
same
but
size.
that's because they had all that land and they're putting in a sewer system.
Right. So
But
it's
just-
smart
This
growth.
is also a local business. That's here,
Right.
that's not elsewhere. O'Reilly's is a Fortune 500 company.
Unfortunately, the one downside to growth is that the city, even though they're the authority over the city, to a developer, you don't get to dictate, well, I want this business or this business. Every person, property owner, has the ability and the right to come buy property and build their business wherever they want. So, you would hope that they're looking for a following, you know, and that they might check it out. There was a recent coffee stand that kind of went out on Facebook and said, hey, I'm looking at this area or this area, and they got some support and some feedback, and now they're coming to Athol. So, but just realize the city doesn't actually control what businesses come in. That's
Yeah, but really, are they gonna pester them like they did Dan and his coffee thing?
no, they understand the rules. They got their permit. They're getting it paved.
Yeah,
There's
but the
not
rules are kinda getting
so.
out of hand a little bit.
Where Bob and,
Some people don't realize that Athol isn't just the 800 people who live right here in the city limits.
That's what
The thing it is there's 5,000 homes in the 83801 address. So there's more than just the 300 homes that we have here in the city.
right, and they all
These all-
visit Athol.
Yeah, so
Do come to the
and
council
if you put
meetings.
in sidewalks and that kind of stuff, them people ain't gonna help you pay for it.
That's totally right, they
No.
don't pay for it, just, we get to pay for those.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you've got a little group of people that wanna, they want to pay for all this stuff.
True, and you can get grants, but normally a grant is only a partial funding for any project. So the city would still have to come up with a certain amount to maximize. We got a grant for the city to put all LED lights in here. That was through KEC, but it ended up costing the city $6,000 on top of what the grant, I think was like $9,000. And that's every light in the city, every building that we have. So there's no such thing as a free grant anymore.
I understand.
I'm not picking on you, don't get me wrong.
I appreciate your knowledge. I mean, Mayor Walker served the city for several years as an employee, and I think he loves this town more than anybody, or else he wouldn't be here. You know, he loves this place, and he honestly wants the best for it. He doesn't wanna see anything majorly happen, but inevitably, change happens, whether it's with the city, with your home, with your car, inevitably things gotta change.
But
And
you
there's
can
two things,
control growth.
there's two things you can do, you can roll with the changes, or you can die. I quit a job because I didn't like the way it was changing. I didn't like the way it was rolling, I was working myself out of a job. So I could have stuck with what I knew, or I could quit and move on to something else. And that was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, because I loved my job. I really did, but it wasn't what it was, and they were making changes and I didn't like them. So you either roll with the changes or you don't, but inevitably, we have to change some. And that's why I'm running for office.
Robin, did you have a question?
I just had a couple comments. I haven't been here a long time. I'm here to have a business, a couple businesses. First of all, I think competition is great. Ace Hardware, whatever, compare it to it. I see that daily. Grocery stores, Little Town Market has made it, am I correct? I don't think that because you live in a second business of the same kind or general is gonna hurt it. I would like to comment that I love the new water bill with several pages of information on it. That's relatively new. It lets us know a little bit more what's going on. Athol Beautification Day. I participated by asking you to help me. I've had 2 knee surgeries and I'm having a hip and I'm having a shoulder done, so, that was very rewarding. What surprised me, blew me away, was about a week later, I opened up my door to a knock, and here is our mayor with a planter box to beautify wherever I wanted to put it, which I put in my front porch. I was blown away. That was not why I did it. Certainly didn't feel that I deserved that, but what they showed me was the city cared about what I asked to have done and make my yard a little better. And they did an outstanding job. I was blown away with what they helped me do. I have seen a change in Athol over the last 15 years. I was here when, yeah. And I've seen a huge difference. I also heard the negative, the super one, but rule number 1 in business is small towns grow together. Coeur d'Alene goes to Hayden, Hayden goes to, Sandpoint can't move this way because of the bridge too much. But we're gonna see growth, and so far, to me, it's been controlled. And I think the city council has done a great job. I think the mayor's done a great job. I have watched them, our government here, recoup from the problems we had with embezzlement. So that, to me, tells me that they care about us. We are very small. There's only, what are we at, 800 people now? 600? Okay. It changes frequently. I don't see that any of you are going to go, okay, let's bring in Walmart here, let's do this here. I don't see that happening. I think that the growth that we've had has been reasonable. Again, I think that Super One was, as we said, several people knocked it, but I think that all of us have used it for the benefit. I think our council and the people that are up here have a general idea of what we want. And so far, I think the people that have been in have done a great job. So,
Thank you, Robin.
I just, I'm hoping that whomever we vote for will continue to look that way for us.
They will, or you'll fire them.
That's an option.
And then the last 4 years coming to council meeting has been such a pleasure, just sitting there, because I came to it 6 years ago and it was like, whoa. So in the last 4 years, it's just been.
Yeah. So we have a council meeting that starts at 7. We can break now, but we have some refreshments up here. Feel free to hang out and mingle if you have more questions that you want to ask of any of the current candidates,
And
staff.
feel free to stay for the council meeting.
I have a quick comment, Lauren.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you guys are all on about this cleaning up the city, which
If you drive around Spirit Lake, you drive around up here in Flagstone, it's everywhere. It's not just the city of Athol. And I don't like it when I hear people that are picked on, and our city planner that sends out this threatening letter that half the time when I ask different council members, they know nothing about it. When you get something threatening, do you like it?
No.
Well, it is a threatening letter. And half the time, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't live here. He lives in a perfect world down in Gaza Ranch, right? Is that where he lives?
Harrison, not
Harrison, wherever. To me, Athol, I've lived in Athol since '73. And I am related to Mark. No street, there was no street signs. There was gravel roads, but it was a neat place to live. When I come home from Coeur d'Alene, I just look at the surrounding area and think, I'm glad I live in Athol. And I like the way Athol is. I do not want to see a sewer system. If that goes in, I'm gonna have to move. People cannot afford it. We live here because we can afford to live here. And if anybody wants to live in a perfect world, move into a gated community that California's brought up here. So that's my feeling on the town of Athol. I volunteer at the schools. I know a lot of people, and I just like it the way it is. If they don't want to clean up their place, so if nobody wants to mow outside their fence on the city right of way, is that going to be Anthony's new job? He has to go around and mow all the right of way? You know, the old post office, part of that's on the right of way, it's all full of weeds. You know, that looks like crap. So, I mean, you can't force people to take pride in what they have. It's their place. I think they should just be left alone.
Just so you know, Peggy, those letters don't go out just from the planner or staff or anybody just looking for someone who's violating something. When a change happens on your property, that's usually what triggers, or somebody notices if it is or isn't in compliance, so. We're not going out looking for properties that are bad, it's as
Well,
something
I
comes
think you
up.
already sent me a letter when I got my sawmill.
Right, when the equipment arrived, that's when you would receive the letters.
Yeah, I had commercial property.
Right, but the equipment, I think based on that letter, the equipment was deemed
But you
as
got
like
other
industrial.
people, city council members, they have businesses in residential property.
That's not about this meeting right now. This is about.
I'm talking about the letters.
This is about running for office. This isn't about, these issues that we're talking about right now is for the city council meeting. Right now, this is for why we're running for office.
Question back there too. Just a general question and a perfect segue for comments. I hear a lot of like pride and neighborliness talk, and that's all very subjective, value-based ideas. And typically, from my understanding, which is rather limited, you know, as a community, it needs to be based on the community standard. Well, if the community standard is you don't need a big fence and you can have piles of junk because you love your stuff, how far are each of you prepared to go to force your personal perception of what value and pride and neighborliness is on the rest of the community? Because I moved here from Post Falls to get away from a lot of this thinking that I'm hearing up here. You know, a lot of regulations and rules and fines and code enforcement officers, and I think it's crap. Just like,
I do have an answer to that. Get yourselves on council. See, I have people say, okay, you're running for mayor, you can do this, this, and this. No, I can't. You know, I can't do anything. Council makes the decisions, and this is why I encourage Peg and yourself, I don't know you personally. Get on council. If you want to see a change, get on council. If you want to protect what there is, get involved. That's why I got involved. Personally, I remember a couple walking by my place. I moved back here in 2009. One of them's here right now. And they said, welcome back to Athol, Bill. Leave it alone. Keep it like it is. Okay. And as I went along, I'm like many of you. I don't want a sewer. You know why? That's how you control growth. You will control growth, but at some point, somebody of a greater authority called Panhandle Health is going to say, you know, we've addressed every city sitting near lakes, forced them to sewage treatment plants, guess what? You sit over a moving river. At some point, it's gonna happen. But until that point, we're not inviting trouble. But yes, higher authorities will come down on us someday, but they will also help us to get to there. But right now, the way I see it, if people want to see change, the best thing you can do is get on council and let your convictions be known there and get involved. That's why Mark's even willing to come back. You know, he's running because he goes, I don't like what I see. Personally, I like what I see, but I can't mention names because we all know who it is. There's one particular violator in town that consistently aggravates us with violations. Myself, I don't care what he has behind his fence. I know we have a code for what's behind his fence. Personally, I don't care. Get it off the city streets. That I care about because as a city representative, I want him to get his trash off the city right away. What he does outside that right away, I don't care. But I do feel I have some say on the right away. And so that's my position.
He has his boundaries in.
I think all of us are running for the money. I think we're doing it for the money because we get paid so much to do this. No, that's not the real reason.
Let me tell you what the money is. The mayor gets $300 a month, the council gets $125 a month. And we've had 3 or 4 meetings throughout the month. The mayor, when Bob was doing it, and I'm doing it now, you have to come down and sign checks or respond to something. So we're not doing it for the money.
No, I was just making.
I know, but I want to
But it's
clear
because
that.
we care. That's why we're running.
I'll
We care
answer
about where we live.
I'll answer your question from my perspective. There has to be, just like with everything in life, there's rules to be followed. So as long as those rules are followed within, to Bill's point, don't put it on the city property. But if it's a health hazard, if it's a danger to the children, those are the times that the city needs to then step up and step in. But what you do behind your fence, it's behind your fence. I shouldn't be looking over your fence going, oh, and this and this and this and this. But don't have it on the city property. Don't make it a health violation. Don't make it a danger to society. It might be an eyesore. Encourage them to clean it up. You know, there are those that don't want to clean it up, to my point earlier. Their trash is their domain. But that's not my way of living. It may be their way of living, so you try and encourage them to make it a little nicer for their own benefit. But as long as it's not a health or a city, it is what it is.
I make your code fit that.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I love this town. You know, I love being part of the small town. I had an issue a couple of years ago because I thought we were still on the old boy system with building. Mayor Walker showed up at my door and said, you gotta have a permit before you can start. Ran over there, pushed it through in 2 days. I put something on a piece of paper and he said, oh, you need a little bit more than that. I revised it, he approved it in 2 days. Where else can we do that?
That's right.
You know, I paid my permit, I got it. Rand was great working with me on that. The mayor, I didn't hassle the mayor about that or anything. But these are the types of awesome things that I care about and what I want to take care of being mayor. You know, that's why I want to run. I am sure as heck not doing it for the money.
I think the important thing is, if as many people as showed up tonight would show up at the council meeting, if they have issues, get on the agenda and address the council with them. Because we see maybe 10, sometimes 12, and other times 3 or 4. And that doesn't help us to decide what we should be doing, because it's only part of the people. We need more people to get involved with the city.
Well, I'd like to see the city council face the people, like we
I like
used
this
to,
too. Yeah.
not facing each other. It just leaves the
Oh,
people that
yeah,
come in
I
there.
would like that too,
they're
but I was
outside.
told that's not the way it
I don't know why
goes.
they started doing that.
I don't know, cause that's.
It
the way
was
I
a matter
like
of the council discussing, so it is a meeting for the people to watch what the council's doing, and it's hard to have a conversation with Mark right now when I'm just staring at somebody else.
But the other places do
At the
it.
We used to do it. I've never
Yeah,
seen a
it's hard.
city
Oh, yeah.
council. Have you ever seen a
Yeah.
city council that doesn't face the audience?
Well, traditionally, you're right, that setup has always been, and this council had tried, the room is just kind of smaller. We looked at some options there, but it was advised by the attorney. And at the moment, during that time of transition, because our council and staff and everybody was going through a lot, it was a good opportunity, and everyone enjoyed, for the first time, our council, I heard them, I witnessed them say, wow, I've never looked at you and had a conversation, so it was good for a while, it doesn't mean it has to
The
stay like that
meetings
forever.
about the people.
Sure,
not
but
the
the
city
people are
council.
witnessing the conversation of the council, and the council